Hello everyone, it's Bella Malloy here, host of Seek Travel Ride. Welcome back to another midweek mini episode in our Cycle Shorts series where I share what it was like for one of our listeners during one day of their trip. Now if you're listening to this and you want to get involved in the series yourself and be featured, the best way to do so is to get in touch with me and send me an email. Email address is podcast@seektravelride.com. Now today I am featuring listener and also previous guest McKenzie Barney, who is going to transport us to what it was like on one day of her trip cycling the world. This day occurred in Ecuador while she was right near Cotopaxi. Take it away, McKenzie.
Hey Bella, this is McKenzie Barney and I'm here to tell you about one day on my trip cycling the world. Let's take you to Ecuador. And we're going to plop you right in the morning of, I am waking up in a cabana, which is just on the foothills of Cotopaxi National Park. And I was warned by a guide, a hiking guide, over breakfast to not go over a certain meter because Cotopaxi can be an active volcano. And that was a bit of a surprise, so I did a little bit of last-minute research on my phone before I had to cycle out of Wi-Fi and into Cotopaxi National Park. And I get up to the visitors center. I sit down for a hot cup of coffee because I like to cold soak on these adventures to save space and weight, so I don't have a stove with me. So a hot cup of coffee is like gold. I'm going to pull over and I'm going to have one wherever I can. So before I go into the remote national park, I go to have this hot cup of coffee, and there is a group of giggling tourists who are obviously backpackers here in South America. And it had gotten a little bit populated at the park that day because there was a clear view, and I had no idea, but apparently it's very difficult to get a rare glimpse of Cotopaxi and not have clouds over the volcano. I look at them and I literally see what I could be doing. I could be comfortable right now, having a cup of coffee, making friends, eating eggs, having the time of my life, just slowing down until the guide says, let's go up to the volcano in the motorized vehicle. And I would not have my legs aching like this. But nope, I chugged down my hot coffee, almost burned my tongue, because I got to get up there before this beautiful, picturesque Cotopaxi gets socked into the clouds. So I'm hustling up. Eventually, the pavement turns into corrugated dirt roads, undulating ups and downs of a roller coaster. And I'm just like, what did I get myself into? But I really wanted to wild camp to have like this epic kind of rare view of Cotopaxi and be out in the wild. And nope. Ecuador's long grass did not have that in store for me, so I decided to listen and just keep going up to kind of the end of where I could go on a bike that was suggested by the guide in the non-danger zone. And I pull up to the campsite, and I expected myself to be the only one there because it was technically closed, but I just figured it was closed to motorized campers. And there's a French family there. A young family with an 8-year-old girl, a 10-year-old girl, and a 14-year-old girl, and the young couple who is their incredibly adventurous parents. Turns out that they had tried to cycle, so they had cycled Chile and Argentina before the pandemic with the girls in tow, and everyone rides their own bike, by the way. And then they had to go home to France because of the pandemic, and now they're back and they're trying to do Colombia and Ecuador in 6 months. And I was just like, this is the coolest family ever. How incredible of an upbringing that these girls get. That they get to see South America. And mind you, they spoke English, French, and Spanish. They spoke better Spanish than I probably spoke English, right? And they're a French family. I mean, I took my hat off to them in so many ways, and I need to track them down. I know they have a blog. But they really inspired me. And I said, you know what? That's just the most epic adventure family that I have ever seen with my own 2 eyes. You know, you read about families who are taking their young kids on the PCT hiking, but to see this family with my own 2 eyes, and the girls all showed me their bikes, and they had one big shared tent. And yeah, I slept with this incredible view. I put my tent, gave them a little bit of their space, their family space, and put my tent in this incredible view of Cotopaxi. Took this just renowned, illustrious image, but that image and that scenery was not the most important thing that stuck out to me on that trip to Cotopaxi.
Thank you so much, McKenzie, for taking us there to Ecuador and to Cotopaxi. Firstly, wow, what an incredible experience you would have given yourself there. I can only actually imagine what it would have been to see Cotopaxi there with my own two eyes and just see that amazing scene of nature. I often mention it on the podcast. There are some moments where Mother Nature makes us feel about the size of an ant, and I imagine that landscape would very much do so. What else I also really liked was that thought that you had when you were having your coffee. You could have taken the easy way out, been the backpacker, hiked up there in the easy way, but no, you were getting there under your own steam and earning those views. But then just how incredible the moment was to be able to meet this incredibly adventurous French family. I absolutely love what they were doing, and like you were saying, I can only just imagine what it would have been like to grow up with this adventurous life, being one of those daughters, experience so much and seeing so much of this world. Absolutely love it. And hey, if there's any way that this French family is listening to this show, get in touch with me. I would love to feature you all as guests of the podcast. Speaking of guests of the podcast, fans of the show will know McKenzie Barney has been featured before, and I actually have an upcoming episode to come with McKenzie once again. We're going to dig more into the details of her cycling the world journey. If you haven't done so yet, you definitely want to be looking at her amazing documentary which she created, which showcases what she experienced during that trip. And a little birdie has also told me that there is an upcoming book to look forward to as well. So everybody, I've got links in the show notes to that previous episode and to Mackenzie's social channels. And yeah, keep an eye out for what's to come in a future episode with Mackenzie as well. Now, as always, I also love to be able to give a shout out to my super fans who have once again been awesome and bought me a coffee. I really appreciate these virtual coffees you've bought me, but I especially love getting your super special messages as well. Here's one from Monongahela Times who says, I'm always thrilled to see Seek Travel Ride pop up on my podcast player just in time for weekend listening. I love to listen while outside on a nice bike ride. Thank you so much for your beautiful words and for buying me a virtual coffee there as well. I'm really glad that the podcast is keeping you company while you're out there on your own little mini bike adventures too. Thank you once again for supporting the show. And Roads to Rome says, love your podcast, Bella. They go so much further than just talking about the actual cycling. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Roads to Rome. I've always said that I think what makes the podcast shine isn't so much the bicycle journey itself, but the human interest stories behind our guests' motivations for taking these adventures on. And I'm glad that you're appreciating them as well. Listeners, if you are enjoying listening to the episodes, if you're drawing inspiration from my guest stories and you'd like to show some appreciation, feel free to buy me a virtual coffee. I've provided links in the show notes which make it nice and easy for you as well. And until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening.